Peter Parker was having a perfectly normal Tuesday, which meant swinging through Manhattan at sunset, calculus homework still unfinished, and MJ expecting him for dinner in exactly 43 minutes. He had time. Probably. Spider-Man always made it work. Then Dr. Strange's dimensional stabilizer, the one he'd borrowed, to study for his Stark Industries internship project, started glowing in his backpack with ominous purple light. Karen, Peter said to his suit's AI. That's bad, right? That's definitely a bad thing, glow. Peter, the dimensional matrix is destabilizing at an exponential rate, Karen reported calmly. I recommend... Reality tore open like wet paper. 1 second, Peter was web-slinging past the Chrysler building. The next, he was falling through a tunnel of impossible colors that made his eyes water, and his spider sense scream danger, danger, danger in every direction at once. He tried shooting a web, but there was nothing to anchor to, just infinite multiverse streaming past at speeds that would have liquefied a normal human. Good thing he wasn't normal. Peter tucked into a ball, protecting his head, and let his enhanced biology do what it did best: survive things that should absolutely kill him. The fall lasted forever and no time at all, and when he finally hit something solid, it was with enough force to crack Duracrete and leave a Peter-shaped crater in what looked like an alien plaza. Ow, Peter groaned, pulling himself out of the crater. Ow, ow, ow. Okay, that was new. Karen, status report. Silence. Karen? Karen? Peter tapped his suit's interface. Dead. The dimensional transit had fried his AI. Great. Just great. Okay, Parker, you've been in worse situations. Remember that time you got trapped in the Washington Monument? Or when the building fell on you? Or when you fought Thanos? He looked around, trying to get his bearings. The plaza was massive, easily 5 times the size of Times Square, and filled with beings of dozens of species he'd never seen before. Aliens, lots of aliens. They were all staring at him with varying degrees of alarm and confusion. Hi, Peter waved awkwardly. Sorry about the crater. I'll pay for that. Does anyone take Venmo here? No? Okay, cool. His spider sense suddenly spiked. Not the usual danger tingle, but something new. Something massive and spread out across the entire plaza. Hidden threats in the crowd. Peter's eyes darted, tracking movement, analyzing patterns with the combat instincts Tony Stark had helped him refine. There, and 3 more over there. 7 individuals moving with coordinated precision through the panicking crowd, all converging on a building that looked important. Columns, guards, official-looking banners. Peter's enhanced hearing caught fragments of conversation from the building. Senate will vote on the Military Creation Act within the hour. Chancellor Villasham believes the First Order is a manageable threat. Resistance forces led by General Organa lack evidence for their claims. Senate. Chancellor. Military Act. Okay, so this was some kind of government building, and those 7 coordinated people moving toward it with the kind of purposeful stride Peter recognized from every action movie ever. Definitely bad guys. Why is it always the government buildings? Peter muttered, web shooting toward the nearest wall. Just once I'd like bad guys to attack a pizza place. I could handle that. Pizza places are my territory. He crawled up the wall. Thankfully, his wall crawling worked just fine in this dimension, and positioned himself where he could observe the 7 suspicious individuals. They wore civilian clothes, but Peter's spider sense hummed with danger every time he focused on them. 3 moved toward the main entrance. 4 circled toward what looked like maintenance access. Classic pincer movement, Peter said, wishing Karen was functional so he could record observations. Okay, Spider-Man, New dimension, same job. Stop bad guys, save people. Try not to break too many things. He shot a web line and swung down just as the first suspicious individual reached for something under their coat. Peter's webbing caught the weapon, some kind of energy pistol, and yanked it away before the person could draw. "Sorry, but I'm gonna need you to keep your hands where I can see them," Peter said, landing in a crouch. "Also, what is that thing? It looks like if a hairdryer and a taser had a baby." The would-be assassin spun toward him with inhuman speed, drawing a second weapon. Peter's spider sense screamed, and he twisted aside as an energy bolt burned through the air where his head had been. "Whoa. Okay, laser guns. This dimension has laser guns. That's actually pretty cool except for the part where you're shooting at me." Peter web-yanked the second weapon away and followed up with impact webbing that stuck the assassin to the wall. "Stay, good bad guy." But the other 6 had noticed. They converged on his position with professional precision, weapons drawn, and Peter's spider sense went from humming to full-blown alarm bells. 6 on 1, Peter quipped, even as his heart rate spiked. "That hardly seems fair. For you guys, I mean." They opened fire simultaneously. Peter moved before his conscious brain processed the danger. Pure spider sense and enhanced reflexes turning him into a red and blue blur. He wall ran along the building's facade, webs shooting in rapid succession to disarm, disrupt, and disable. 2 assassins got webbed to each other. Another lost their weapon to a precision web yank. The 4th took an impact web to the chest that sent them flying into a decorative fountain. But these weren't common thugs. They adapted quickly, shifting tactics, using the panicking crowd for cover. One of them produced a small device and spoke rapidly in a language Peter didn't understand. Then his spider sense went absolutely berserk. Peter looked up and saw a massive energy signature building on a nearby rooftop. Some kind of mounted weapon, and it was aimed directly at the Senate building, at the hundreds of people inside. Oh, no, no, no. Peter web shot toward the rooftop, moving faster than he'd ever moved before. His enhanced muscles burned with effort as he pushed beyond normal limits, racing against a countdown only his spider sense could perceive. He reached the rooftop just as the weapon fired. Without thinking, Peter planted himself between the energy beam and the Senate building, shield style, and caught the blast directly on his chest. The impact felt like being hit by the Hulk and struck by lightning simultaneously. His suit's fabric, Tony Stark's sophisticated design, absorbed most of the energy, but the sheer kinetic force launched Peter backward through the air. He web-slung at the last second, redirecting his trajectory, and crashed through a window into someone's apartment. "Sorry," Peter called to the startled family inside. "Emergency hero stuff. I'll pay for the window." He web-slung back out and saw that his intervention had worked. The energy beam had been deflected enough to miss the Senate building entirely, but the weapon was charging for another shot, and Peter wasn't sure his suit could take a second hit. So he did what Spider-Man did best. He improvised. Peter web-zipped directly to the weapon emplacement, landed on the barrel, and pumped it full of web fluid. Thick expanding webbing that clogged the energy-focusing array and jammed the firing mechanism. When the operators tried to fire again, the weapon overloaded spectacularly, sparking and smoking. "See, that's why you should always read the instruction manual," Peter said, webbing the operators to their own destroyed weapon. "I bet there's a whole section about the don't let spider-themed heroes web up your death ray." Sirens wailed across the plaza. Security forces, guards in actual armor that looked like it came from a sci-fi movie, poured out of multiple buildings, But they weren't arresting the assassins. They were pointing weapons at Peter. "Wait, what? I'm the good guy." Peter raised his hands. "Those people," he pointed at the webbed assassins, "tried to blow up that building. I stopped them. That's what good guys do." "Unidentified hostile. Stand down," one of the guards commanded. "You're under arrest for destruction of public property, assault, and unlawful use of unknown weaponry." Unlawful use of... These are webs. I make webs. It's my thing. Look, can we just talk about this? Peter's spider sense tingled again. Not danger to him, danger to the guards. He looked past them and saw 3 more assassins emerging from the crowd, weapons aimed at the security forces' backs. Peter didn't hesitate. He web-zipped over the guards' heads, twisted mid-flight, and shot 3 perfect web lines that yanked the assassins' weapons away before they could fire. Then he landed, tripped to all 3, with web lines around their ankles, and cocooned them before they could react. The guards stared. The crowd stared. Peter offered an awkward wave. "So, still want to arrest me, or..." Before anyone could answer, a woman's voice cut through the chaos with authoritative calm. "Stand down. The young man is with the resistance." Peter turned and saw 3 people approaching. 2 human, 1 with orange skin and head tentacles. Space octopus person? Cool. The speaker was a woman in her 60s, hair graying but posture military straight, wearing clothing that managed to look both elegant and practical. Her expression was tired but kind, and something about her presence made Peter's spider sense quiet slightly. The woman who resembled Space Mom. "I am?" Peter asked, then caught himself. I am, definitely, totally with the resistance. That's me. Resistance guy." The woman's lips twitched with almost amusement. "General Leia Organa. These are my operatives, Commander Poe Dameron and Admiral Akbar. And you are?" "Spider-Man," Peter said automatically. Then, because his brain-to-mouth filter had never worked properly, "But you can call me Peter. Peter Parker, from Queens. Which I'm guessing isn't anywhere near here because I have no idea where here is." Poe Dameron, handsome guy, pilot's jacket, the kind of confident smile that probably got him in trouble regularly, stepped forward with hand extended. "Did you just web up 10 first-order assassins in under 3 minutes? Was it 10? I lost count after 7. Peter shook Poe's hand, noting the calluses that suggested extensive flight training. "Who's the First Order? Are they the bad guys?" They seemed like bad guys. The whole trying to blow up a government building thing was a pretty big clue. "The First Order is..." Leia began, but alarms cut her off. More security forces arrived, along with official-looking people in fancy robes who were definitely important government types. "General Organa," one of the robed officials said coldly, "the Senate does not appreciate your theatrical demonstrations. Staging an attack to justify military expansion is..." "We staged nothing," Leia said, her voice sharp. "The First Order has been infiltrating your government for months. We've been investigating, but you refused to listen. This young man," she gestured to Peter, "just prevented a massacre. You're welcome." "I want to see evidence," the official demanded. "Real evidence, not resistance paranoia." Peter raised his hand. I can help with that. Those people I webbed up probably have, communicators or something. If you check their tech, you might find proof of who sent them." The official's expression suggested he thought Peter was an idiot. "And why should we trust analysis from a masked vigilante?" "Because I'm really good at tech stuff," Peter offered. "I've helped the Avengers track down bad guys through digital footprints before. One time I hacked a suit of armor that cost more than a small country. Mr. Stark was so impressed, he only yelled at me for 3 hours." Poe laughed. I like this kid. Kid? Peter protested. I'm 16. That's like almost an adult. 16, Leia repeated, her expression softening with concern and something else. Recognition, maybe. You're a child. A child who just saved hundreds of lives, Peter said firmly. Look, I don't know what's going on here or how I got here, but I know bad guys when I see them. And I know that when bad guys try to hurt people, someone has to stop them. That's what Spider-Man does, whether I'm in Queens or wherever this is. Leia studied him for a long moment, and Peter had the uncomfortable feeling she was seeing right through his mask to the kid beneath. When she spoke again, her voice was gentler. You remind me of someone I knew. Someone who believed that one person could make a difference, no matter how impossible the odds. She looked at the webbed assassins, at the destroyed weapon emplacement, at the Senate building that still stood because a teenage hero from another dimension had been in the right place at the right time. Come with us, Spider-Man. We need to debrief you, and you need answers about where you are, and... She glanced at the skeptical officials. We need your help proving the First Order is a greater threat than the New Republic wants to believe. The New Republic? Peter asked, following as Leia's group moved toward a sleek ship that made the Quinjet look primitive. Is that the good guy government? Because I'm all about helping good guy governments. I'm very pro-democracy. Captain America was my favorite Avenger. Don't tell Mr. Stark I said that. Poe fell into step beside Peter, grinning. You talk a lot. Yeah, I get that a lot. It's a nervous thing. Also I'm fighting supervillains and processing trauma through humor thing. But mostly nervous. Your ship is really cool, by the way. Does it have a hyperdrive? I read about theoretical faster-than-light travel in a physics journal, but I didn't think it was actually possible. Is it? Because that would be amazing, and also explain why the stars look weird. I definitely like this kid, Poe said to Leia. They boarded the ship, interior all curves and alien technology that made Peter's fingers itch to take things apart and figure out how they worked. Admiral Akbar took the helm while Poe secured the passenger area. Leia gestured for Peter to sit. Before we go further, Leia said carefully, I need to know, how did you get here? And where are you from? Peter hesitated. His whole identity was about keeping people safe, and that included not revealing too much too fast. But something about Leia made him feel like he could trust her. Maybe it was the way she'd defended him to the officials. Maybe it was the genuine concern in her eyes. Maybe it was just his Parker luck that he'd landed in front of someone who actually reminded him of Aunt May. I'm from Earth, Peter said, but probably not the Earth you're thinking of. Different dimension, different universe, maybe. I was in New York. That's a city. And there was this accident with some tech I was studying. Next thing I know, I'm face-planting in your plaza. Different dimension, Leia repeated. The Force works in mysterious ways. The what now? The Force. The energy field that binds the galaxy together. She waved her hand dismissively. We'll explain later. First, tell me about these powers of yours. That wasn't standard technology. You were sticking to walls, moving with impossible speed and agility, and you knew about the assassins before anyone else did. How? Peter tapped the side of his head. Spider sense. Kind of a precognitive danger detection thing. I got bit by a radioactive spider when I was 15. Long story. And now I can do whatever a spider can. Wall crawling, super strength, super agility, reflexes that let me dodge bullets. Or laser bolts, apparently. And the spider sense tells me when danger's coming before it happens. A precognitive ability, Leia said thoughtfully. That's remarkably similar to how Force-sensitive individuals perceive threats. But you have no connection to the Force whatsoever. How curious. Is that bad? Peter asked. Because where I'm from, being different is usually complicated. Not bad, Leia assured him. Just unexpected, and potentially very useful. She leaned forward. Peter, the galaxy is in danger. 30 years ago, we defeated the Galactic Empire, a tyrannical regime that enslaved entire species and ruled through fear. We built the New Republic to ensure freedom and democracy would triumph. But we grew complacent. We assumed evil had been defeated permanently. It wasn't, Peter said quietly, understanding dawning. The First Order is what the Empire became. A faction of it? Yes. They fled to the unknown regions, the edges of explored space, and rebuilt in secret. Now they're strong enough to threaten everything we fought for. But the New Republic doesn't want to believe it. They've demilitarized, disbanded most of the fleet, convinced themselves that war is over. So we formed the Resistance, a small force dedicated to opposing the First Order before they can launch whatever they're planning. Peter's spider sense hummed softly. Not danger, but significance. This was why he was here. This was the threat that mattered. What are they planning? Peter asked. Leia and Poe exchanged glances. We don't know exactly, Poe admitted, but we've intercepted communications about something called Starkiller Base, a weapon of some kind, and whatever it is, it's almost complete. A weapon, Peter repeated, his mind already racing with possibilities. Like a Death Star? You know about the Death Star? Leia asked sharply. Not really. I mean, the name sounds ominous. Star in the name, death as an adjective. Nothing good starts with death anything. Dr. Doom, Deathstroke, Death Star, all bad guys or bad guy adjacent. Poe laughed again. Kid's got a point. The Death Star was a space station capable of destroying planets, Leia said, her voice heavy with old pain. The Empire used it to demonstrate their power, to inspire fear. My homeworld, Alderaan, was destroyed to make a political point. Peter felt his chest tighten. I'm so sorry. I can't imagine. No, Leia agreed. Most can't. But if the First Order is building something similar, if they have that kind of power again. She didn't finish, but she didn't need to. Then we stop them, Peter said firmly. That's what heroes do. I know I'm just some kid from Queens who got lucky with a spider bite, but Mr. Stark, the Iron Man, he always said that if you have the power to make a difference and you don't, then the bad things that happen are partially your fault. With great power comes great responsibility. Uncle Ben taught me that before he died. Silence filled the cabin. Then Leia smiled, small, sad, but genuine. You do remind me of him, she said quietly. My brother, Luke. He once believed exactly what you just said. That one person could make a difference. That hope and courage could overcome any darkness. Believed? Peter caught the past tense. What changed? Leia's expression shifted to something painful. He tried to rebuild the Jedi Order, warriors who used the Force to defend peace and justice. He trained students, including my son, but something went wrong. His temple was destroyed, his students killed or corrupted, and Luke lost faith. He exiled himself, convinced that the Jedi and the Force itself cause more problems than they solve. That's the dumbest thing I've ever heard, Peter said before his filter could catch up. Then quickly, sorry, I mean, no offense to your brother, but that's like saying Spider-Man causes crime because bad guys fight him. The bad guys are the problem, not the heroes trying to stop them. You can't just give up because things got hard. Try telling Luke that, Poe muttered. Maybe I will, Peter said, if I meet him, because someone needs to tell him that giving up means the bad guys already won. Captain America, Steve Rogers. He was frozen in ice for 70 years. When he woke up, everything he knew was gone. But he didn't quit. He kept fighting because that's what heroes do. Leia studied Peter with an intensity that made him squirm. How old did you say you were? 16, almost 17. 16, she repeated. And you're already so certain about what heroes should do. Because I've seen what happens when they don't, Peter said quietly. My uncle died because I didn't stop a bad guy when I had the chance. I was selfish, thought only about myself, and Uncle Ben paid the price. I swore I'd never let that happen again, that I'd use my powers to help people, protect people, be the hero Uncle Ben believed I could be. The ship shuddered slightly as it entered. Hyperspace, a sensation that made Peter's stomach flip. Through the viewports, stars stretched into lines, and Peter realized he was traveling faster than light. Actually, literally faster than light. It should have been impossible. It was also the coolest thing ever. Kid's got heart, Poe said to Leia, and if his spider sense is as good as he says, he could be exactly what we need. Someone who can detect threats before they materialize. Someone unpredictable enough that even Force users can't anticipate him. Force users? Peter asked. Like Jedi? Like my son, Leia said, and there was a world of pain in those 3 words. Ben Solo. He fell to the dark side of the Force, the corruption that drives beings to evil. Now he calls himself Kylo Ren and serves as the First Order's enforcer. He leads a group called the Knights of Ren, powerful Force users dedicated to the dark side's philosophy. Peter's spider sense hummed at the mention of Kylo Ren. Danger, serious danger, but underneath it something else. Something sad. Your son, Peter said carefully. Do you think he can be saved? I don't know, Leia admitted. Luke thought he was too far gone, that the darkness had consumed him completely. But he's my son. I can't give up on him, even if everyone else has. Then we'll save him, Peter said with the absolute conviction of someone who'd never encountered a problem he couldn't web swing around. Bad guys can change. I've seen it happen. Even Loki turned good eventually. Kind of. And he was literally the god of mischief and stabbing people. If Loki can become a hero, then your son can too. Poe whistled low. This kid really doesn't quit. No, Leia said, a smile finally reaching her eyes. He doesn't, which is why I think he might be exactly what this galaxy needs. Hope with a sense of humor. She stood, extending her hand to Peter. Welcome to the Resistance, Spider-Man. I hope you're ready for the fight of your life. Peter took her hand and shook it firmly. Ma'am, I fought Thanos. I died, came back, and helped save the universe. Fighting a fascist space military, that's just a really big Tuesday. He's insane, Poe said cheerfully. I love it. As the ship continued through hyperspace toward the Resistance base, Peter stared out at the impossible stars and felt his spider sense quiet to a steady hum. Not danger, exactly. More like potential. Like the moment before he jumped off a building, trusting his webs would catch him. He was in a different dimension, a galaxy at war, facing threats he didn't fully understand. But he was still Spider-Man, still the kid from Queens who couldn't walk away from people in danger. And if this galaxy needed a hero, well, that's what he did best. Hey, General Organa, Peter asked. One question. Do you guys have pizza here? Because if I'm going to save the galaxy, I'm going to need pizza. It's scientifically proven that heroes work better with pizza. I read a study. Probably. Poe burst out, laughing. Leia just shook her head with fond exasperation that reminded Peter so much of Aunt May. He felt a sharp pang of homesickness. But home would have to wait. Right now, A galaxy needed saving, and Spider-Man never let anyone down. If you want to see more characters enter the Star Wars galaxy, hit that subscribe button and drop the name of a character you'd want to see in the comments below. May the Force be with you. The Resistance base was hidden on Dakar, a jungle planet so thick with vegetation that Peter's enhanced senses went into overdrive, cataloging new species and analyzing atmospheric composition. The base itself was built into an ancient temple, combining stone architecture with cutting-edge technology in ways that made Peter's tech-loving heart sing. "This is so cool," Peter said, craning his neck to see everything at once. "It's like if Indiana Jones and Star Trek had a baby. Can I explore? I should probably not explore without permission, but I really want to explore." "Later," Leia said, guiding him through corridors filled with Resistance personnel who stopped to stare at the strange masked teenager. "First, we need to understand the full scope of what you interrupted on Hosnian Prime. Admiral Akbar, analysis." The Admiral pulled up holographic displays showing the webbed assassins, their equipment, and communication logs that had been recovered. The First Order infiltration was more extensive than we feared. These agents were positioned to eliminate key New Republic senators simultaneously, creating political chaos that would justify First Order intervention to restore order. "Classic fascist playbook," Peter said, studying the data with the same intensity he brought to studying for chem tests. "Create the crisis, then offer yourself as the solution. Hitler did it, Hydra tried it, and now these First Order guys are running the same scam. How were they communicating?" "Encrypted subspace channels," a technician reported. "Military-grade encryption we haven't been able to crack." "Can I see it?" Peter asked. When everyone looked skeptical, he added, "I helped decrypt Stark Industries' quantum encryption when I was 15. I'm pretty good with codes." Poe whistled. "Kid decrypted quantum encryption? Okay, now I'm really impressed." They showed Peter the captured communication devices. He turned one over in his hands, his enhanced senses picking up details others would miss. The weight distribution suggesting hidden components, the wear patterns indicating frequent use, the slightly different alloy composition in one section that screamed, "Secret compartment." "Got it," Peter said, producing a tiny multi-tool from his web shooter. "There's a secondary processor hidden in the casing. Probably stores decryption keys. If I can just..." He worked with precise movements, his steady hands and enhanced reflexes making delicate work look easy. "Bypass the fail-safe, route around the dead man's switch, and..." There. The device chirped. Data flooded the holographic displays. "Impossible," Admiral Akbar said. "That encryption should have taken weeks to crack." "Yeah, but I've got a really good intuition for tech stuff," Peter said, already scrolling through the data. "Plus, whoever designed this was really confident in their security. Confident people get sloppy. They leave patterns, and patterns are just puzzles, and I love puzzles. Oh. Oh no." His voice had gone serious. Everyone leaned in. "What is it?" Leia asked. "They're not just planning political destabilization," Peter said, highlighting sections of the communication logs. "They're running a timeline. Everything coordinates to something happening in..." He did quick mental math. 17 days. Something called Starkiller initialization. And based on these power consumption projections, whatever Starkiller is, it's massive. Like drain multiple star systems, massive. The room went silent. 17 days, Poe said quietly. "That's not much time." "It gets worse," Peter continued, his spider sense humming as he processed the implications. "These communications reference someone called Supreme Leader Snoke. Orders come from him directly. And there's something else. Mentions of the Jedi killer and securing the map. What map? Leia's expression hardened. The map to Luke. We've been searching for him for years. If the First Order finds him first, your brother who gave up becomes their target. Peter finished, because even if he quit, he's still dangerous to them. A Jedi Master who could oppose their plans. His mind raced through strategic implications. We need a two-pronged approach. Stop whatever Starkiller is and find Luke before they do. How much do we know about Starkiller's location? Very little, Admiral Akbar admitted. The First Order operates from the unknown regions. Our scouts have been searching, but the territory is vast and poorly mapped. Peter studied the data, looking for patterns others might miss. His enhanced pattern recognition, the same gift that let him calculate web-slinging trajectories mid-swing, processed the information at superhuman speed. There, he said, highlighting a series of supply shipments. They're moving massive amounts of construction materials to specific coordinates, and the shipping routes all converge on. He traced the lines. Here, the Elenium system. That has to be where Starkiller Base is located. Based on supply routes? Poe asked skeptically. That's pretty thin evidence? It's the only evidence that makes sense. Peter argued. You can hide a military base, but you can't hide the logistics. Someone has to deliver food, fuel, replacement parts. Follow the delivery trucks. You find the secret lair. It worked for tracking down Vulture in Queens. It'll work here. Leia studied the star charts. It's risky. If you're wrong, we waste time we don't have. I'm not wrong, Peter said with confidence. My spider sense is humming just looking at those coordinates. Something bad is there. Something really, really bad. Spider sense isn't exactly scientific evidence, Admiral Akbar pointed out. Neither is the Force, from what I understand. But you guys use that for decision-making, Peter countered. Look, where I'm from, my spider sense has saved my life and other people's lives literally hundreds of times. It's never wrong about danger. Never. If it says that location is bad news, it's bad news. Poe looked at Leia. I trust my gut. Kid's gut seems pretty reliable, too. It's not my gut, it's my spider sense. You know what? Never mind. Same principle. Peter pulled up more data. Even if I'm wrong about the exact location, we know they're preparing something for 17 days from now. We can't just sit here. We have to do something. Leia made a decision with the kind of command presence Peter recognized from watching Captain America lead the Avengers. Poe, assemble a reconnaissance team. Take your best pilots, and take Spider-Man. Ma'am, with respect, Admiral Akbar protested. He's a child from another dimension with no military training. He's a hero who just prevented a massacre and cracked encryption our best techs couldn't break. Leia interrupted. And more importantly, he has abilities that could make the difference between success and failure. Peter, she turned to him. This is dangerous. More dangerous than anything you faced on Hosnian Prime. The First Order won't hesitate to kill you. Are you certain you want this? Peter thought about Uncle Ben, about Tony Stark snapping his fingers to save the universe, about every moment that had taught him what being a hero really meant. With great power comes great responsibility, he said simply. I've got the power to help. That makes it my responsibility. Plus 17 days isn't a lot of time. We can't waste it debating whether the teenager should come along. The teenager is coming along. The only question is whether he's coming along with your help or swinging solo. Poe grinned. Definitely like this kid. Fine, Leia said. But Peter, you follow orders. Poe's in command. No improvising unless absolutely necessary. I'm great at following orders, Peter said. I follow orders all the time. Well, sometimes, occasionally, when they make sense. We're all going to die, Admiral Akbar muttered. That's the spirit, Poe said, clapping Peter on the shoulder. Come on, Spider Kid. Let me introduce you to the best fighter pilots in the galaxy, and then we're going to teach you how to not die in space combat. The next 3 days were intensive crash course training that made Peter appreciate how much easier superhero work had been with Mr. Stark's mentorship. He learned to operate in vacuum environments. His web shooters worked even better without air resistance. Studied first-order ship designs and tactics. Practiced with resistance personnel who ranged from skeptical to supportive. And he got to know Poe Dameron, who reminded Peter of a less traumatized, more optimistic version of Tony Stark. Same cocky confidence, same willingness to bend rules, but with none of the inner darkness that had driven Tony's worst decisions. So you died? Poe asked during a training break, the two of them sitting on the Millennium Falcon's loading ramp. Like, actually died? Yeah, Peter said quietly. This guy, Thanos, he had these powerful artifacts called Infinity Stones. He snapped his fingers and half of all life in the universe just turned to dust, including me. I remember telling Mr. Stark I didn't feel so good, and then nothing. For 5 years, I was just gone. 5 years, Poe repeated. And then Mr. Stark and the Avengers figured out time travel, collected the stones from the past, and brought everyone back. But Thanos from the past followed us, and there was this huge battle. In the end, Mr. Stark used the stones himself, snapped Thanos and his army out of existence, but the power killed him. Your mentor died saving you, Poe said. Saving everyone, Peter corrected. That's what heroes do. They sacrifice. Mr. Stark spent years being selfish, then spent the rest of his life making up for it. He taught me that being a hero isn't about having powers or fancy tech. It's about making the choice, every single day, to do the right thing, even when it costs you everything. Poe was quiet for a moment. Then, "You're going to do something crazy on this mission, aren't you? Something heroic and stupid that'll probably save us all, while nearly getting you killed." "Probably," Peter admitted. "It's kind of my thing." "Good," Poe said, "because this mission is definitely going to need crazy heroics. The First Order doesn't mess around, and if Starkiller is what we think it is, we're flying into a situation where the odds are." "Never tell me the odds," Peter quoted with a grin. Mr. Stark used to say that too, right before doing something impossible. On the 4th day, they launched. Peter rode in Poe's X-Wing, a sleek fighter that made the teenager in him squeal with joy, strapped into the droid's socket with a custom harness Resistance engineers had rigged up. "This is so cool," Peter said as they accelerated into hyperspace. "I'm in space, like actual space, flying faster than light. If I ever get home, nobody's going to believe this. MJ's going to think I'm making it up." "MJ?" Poe asked. "My girlfriend, sort of. It's complicated. We were dating, then I got pulled into another dimension, so now I don't know what we are. But she's amazing, scary smart, calls me out on my nonsense, completely fearless. You'd like her." "Sounds like she'd like General Organa," Poe observed. The reconnaissance team consisted of 6 X-Wings, all piloted by Resistance veterans. They emerged from hyperspace on the edge of the Elenium system with sensors at maximum, scanning for any sign of First Order presence. Peter's spider sense went absolutely berserk. "Contact!" he shouted. "Lots of contacts, coming from..." His sense screamed direction and distance. Asteroids at 2 o'clock, debris field at 7, and something big behind that moon. "How does he know?" One pilot started. Then the First Order fighters appeared exactly where Peter had indicated. TIE fighters screaming out of hiding spots, weapons hot, converging on the Resistance ships with lethal intent. Evasive action, Poe commanded, throwing his X-Wing into a corkscrew that pressed Peter against his harness. Spider, how are you doing this? Spider sense, Peter shouted over the sound of laser fire. My danger detection. It works in space combat. 3 more TIEs coming from below, one targeting the ship with red markings. The warnings came rapid fire, and the Resistance pilots quickly learned to trust them. When Spider-Man said danger was incoming, they moved. 3 TIE fighters that should have scored kills missed because their targets had already evaded. 2 ambush positions were avoided entirely because Peter detected them before visual contact. This is incredible, Poe said, his piloting skills enhanced by Peter's precognitive warnings. It's like having a Jedi in the ship. Better than a Jedi, Peter said. I don't get all philosophical about balance and destiny. I just tell you where the bad guys are. Speaking of which, something really big just powered up on that moon. Something weapon-sized. The moon? One pilot said. That's no moon. No, it's actually a moon, Peter said. But there's something built into it. Some kind of turbo laser battery or... Oh no. Everyone dive now. The pilots reacted instantly to the urgency in Peter's voice. Massive energy beams lanced through the space they'd occupied seconds before. Planetary-scale weapons that would have vaporized the entire squadron. What in the name of... Poe started. Not a moon, Peter said, his enhanced vision picking up details as they passed. It's a planet. The whole planet is the weapon. They've built Starkiller Base inside a planet. The implications hit everyone simultaneously. A Death Star had been the size of a moon and could destroy planets. But this was planet-sized. What could something that large destroy? We need to get this intel back to base, Poe said, already calculating jump coordinates. Spider, can you sense if... Peter's spider sense spiked differently than before. Not immediate danger. Something else. Something worse. There's someone on that planet, Peter said, his voice strange. Someone really, really powerful, and they just noticed us. There. His sense screamed. Doing something with the Force, trying to track us. Everyone jump now. The X-Wings leapt into hyperspace, just as a wave of dark side energy swept through their position. In the microsecond before they vanished, Peter felt it. A presence vast and terrible and hungry, searching for them with malevolent precision. And underneath it, something else. Something familiar in a terrible way. A presence that felt young, conflicted, powerful, and drowning in darkness. Kylo Ren. They emerged from hyperspace near Dakar, and every pilot was shaking. That kind of dark side power was something they'd heard about in stories. Legends of Darth Vader and the Emperor, but never expected to face. What was that? One pilot asked, her voice unsteady. That, Peter said quietly, was someone who could probably sense us across the galaxy if they tried hard enough. Someone with force powers I don't understand. But here's what I do understand. They're scared. Scared? Poe asked. That presence felt like death itself. How could it be scared? Because it noticed me, Peter said, and it couldn't predict me. Couldn't sense me through the Force the way it could sense you guys. I'm invisible to Force precognition. That makes me unpredictable. And powerful beings really, really don't like unpredictable variables. The debriefing at Resistance headquarters was intense. Leia listened to their report with growing concern, especially Peter's description of the dark presence. That was Snoke, she said, the supreme leader of the First Order. We know almost nothing about him except that he's powerful in the dark side, and he corrupted my son." She looked at Peter. "You said you felt Ben there, too?" "Yeah," Peter confirmed. "The other presence, younger, conflicted, strong in the Force, but kind of messy. Like he's fighting himself constantly. That had to be Kylo Ren." "Messy," Leia repeated, and there was pain in her voice. "That sounds like Ben, always struggling with competing impulses, never finding peace." "Then maybe he can still be saved," Peter said. "If he's conflicted, that means part of him is still fighting, still trying to do the right thing. We just need to reach that part." "With respect," Admiral Akbar said, "Kylo Ren has killed countless people in service to the First Order. Redemption may not be possible." "It's always possible," Peter insisted. "I know what everyone here is thinking, that I'm just some naive kid who doesn't understand how evil works. But I've faced evil, real evil, people who enjoyed hurting others, who saw cruelty as strength. And yeah, some people are too far gone. But Kylo Ren, he's conflicted. That means there's still good in him, and where there's good, there's hope." Poe leaned back. "Kid makes a point. The dark side doesn't do conflicted. If Kylo's struggling, that's a weakness we can exploit." "Or a trap," Admiral Akbar warned. "Snoke could be using his apprentice's conflict to lure us into false hope." "Then we spring the trap knowingly," Leia said. "But first, we need to address the immediate threat. Starkiller Base. Peter, your analysis?" Peter pulled up the reconnaissance data, his mind processing it with the same analytical precision he used for web-slinging trajectories. "Okay, so based on what we saw and the power readings we detected, Starkiller Base is basically a Death Star on steroids. Instead of drawing power from a reactor, it draws power from a star. That's what the name means. It literally kills stars, drains their energy to power the weapon." "And what does the weapon do?" Leia asked, though her expression suggested she already knew and dreaded the answer. "Based on the energy output we detected during that brief moment it powered up." Peter did quick mental math. "It could destroy multiple planets simultaneously, maybe entire star systems. It's not just planet killing, it's system killing." The room went silent. The horror of it was beyond comprehension. "We have to destroy it," Poe said, "before they fire it, before they kill billions." "Agreed," Leia said, "but we can't do it alone. We need allies, resources, a plan of attack. Admiral, begin reaching out to sympathetic New Republic senators. Poe, coordinate with our military assets. Peter." She paused. "I need you to do something that might be impossible." "Impossible is kind of my specialty," Peter said. "Find Luke," Leia said. "My brother. We've been searching for years with no success, but you have abilities we don't. Your spider sense might be able to detect things the Force can't. And more importantly, you're someone Luke has never met. Someone who can't be manipulated through his guilt or past failures. You can reach him in ways we can't. You want me to convince a Jedi Master who gave up to come back and fight?" Peter said. "That's actually pretty on brand for me. Mr. Stark was drowning in guilt and self-loathing when I first met him. I helped pull him back by just being enthusiastically heroic at him, until he remembered why being a hero mattered. I can do the same for your brother." "The map to Luke is incomplete," Leia said, "but there's someone who might have the missing piece. A scavenger on Jakku named Rey. Our intelligence suggests she encountered a droid, BB-8, carrying the map fragment we've been searching for. Find her. Find the map, find Luke, and convince him that the galaxy needs him one more time." "On it," Peter said. "Jakku, scavenger named Rey, map fragment, pessimistic Jedi Master. Got it." This is going to be like that time I had to find Happy Hogan in a parking lot during the Stark Expo attack, except with more desert and laser swords. I'll go with him, Poe said. Someone needs to make sure the kid doesn't get himself killed being heroic. Hey, I've survived this long, Peter protested. You died fighting Thanos, Poe pointed out. Okay, fair, but I got better. They departed for Jakku the next day, and as Peter watched Descartes disappear behind them, he felt his spider sense humming steadily. Not danger exactly, more like anticipation, like standing on the edge of a building before that first swing, trusting his webs to catch him. Somewhere on a desert planet, a scavenger named Ray was about to have a very strange day. Somewhere in the unknown regions, Kylo Ren was meditating on the disturbance he'd felt. A presence that shouldn't exist, that the Force couldn't touch, that represented something his master feared. And somewhere between dimensions, the fabric of reality was still settling from Peter Parker's arrival, creating ripples that would change the fate of the galaxy. Because that's what Spider-Man did. He changed things, made them better, found hope where others saw only darkness. And if this galaxy needed hope, well, Peter Parker had plenty to spare. Jakku was exactly as advertised. Sandy, hot, and utterly miserable for someone who'd grown up swinging between climate-controlled Manhattan skyscrapers. Peter's suit's environmental controls were working overtime, and even with enhanced biology, he could feel the twin suns beating down like cosmic heat lamps. I hate sand, Peter muttered, pulling himself out of yet another dune. It's coarse and rough and irritating, and it gets everywhere. Did I mention everywhere? Because everywhere. You're quoting something, Poe said, guiding them toward the settlement of Nema Outpost with practiced ease. That reference sounds familiar. Old movie from my universe, Peter said, about a guy who becomes a bad guy because he doesn't like sand and makes poor life choices. Actually, now that I think about it, that's disturbingly relevant to our current mission. They'd landed the X-Wing on the outskirts and were approaching on foot to avoid drawing First Order attention. According to Resistance intel, Ray was a scavenger who traded salvage to a local junk dealer named Unkar Plutt. Finding one person in a settlement of thousands shouldn't have been hard. Except Peter's spider sense was going haywire. Something's wrong, Peter said, his enhanced hearing picking up sounds of conflict from the market district. Fighting, blaster fire, and his sense spiked. Someone really angry with the Force. Poe, we need to move. They ran, Peter's enhanced speed, letting him outpace Poe easily. He rounded a corner and saw the situation immediately. A young woman with brown hair in a simple scavenger's outfit, wielding a staff with obvious skill, defending a small spherical droid from a group of thugs. But these weren't ordinary thugs. They moved with military precision, wore concealed armor, and their weapons were first-order issue. The girl, Ray, Peter's enhanced pattern recognition supplied, was holding her own, but barely. She had natural fighting ability, but she was outnumbered 5-1. Then Peter's spider sense screamed as one of the thugs raised a weapon that definitely wasn't a blaster. Some kind of heavy ordnance designed to stun or kill, aimed right at Ray's back while she was engaged with the others. Peter didn't think. He web-zipped across the marketplace, yanked the weapon out of the thug's hands mid-aim, and landed between Ray and her attackers in a crouch. "Hi," Peter said brightly. "Friendly neighborhood Spider-Man here. I'm gonna need you guys to stop attacking the nice lady and her adorable robot friend. Please, and thank you." The thugs stared. Ray stared. The droid, BB-8, based on Leia's description, beeped something that Peter's universal translator earpiece interpreted as a question about whether Spider-Man was a protocol designation. Not a protocol, more of a lifestyle choice, Peter said. Then, to the thugs. So we doing this the easy way or the fun way? Because I'm good with either, but the fun way involves a lot of webbing. And you guys looking really silly when local security shows up. The lead thug's response was to open fire. Peter's spider sense had already warned him. He dodged the first 3 shots without looking. Webb yanked the weapon from the shooter's hands and used it as an improvised bat to deflect the next volley of blaster bolts. The enhanced reflexes that let him dodge bullets in New York worked just as well against laser fire in Jakku. Fun way it is, Peter said, launching into combat with the kind of acrobatic grace that made professional gymnasts look clumsy. He web-slung between attackers, using their numbers against them. When one swung at him, Peter ducked, and the blow hit another thug instead. When 2 tried to flank him, he webbed their feet together, and they tripped over each other. It would have been almost funny if they weren't trying to kill him. Ray recovered from her shock and rejoined the fight. Her staff work elegant and brutal. She moved like someone who'd been fighting for survival her entire life, every strike calculated for maximum efficiency. Together, she and Peter created a combat rhythm, his unpredictable acrobatics drawing attention, while her precise strikes took advantage of the openings. "You're pretty good at this," Peter called out, Webb yanking a thug away from Ray's blind spot. "You're insane," Ray shouted back, but there was approval in her voice. She swept another attacker's legs, then used her staff to vault over a cargo container with athletic grace that matched Peter's enhanced abilities. Within 3 minutes, all 5 thugs were webbed to various surfaces, struggling futilely against bonds designed to hold beings with superhuman strength. Peter and Ray stood in the center of the wreckage, both breathing hard but exhilarated. BB-8 rolled between them, beeping excitedly. "He says you fight with impressive efficiency," Ray translated, staring at Peter with open curiosity, "and that your appendage launching capability is unprecedented in his tactical database. What are you?" "Just your friendly neighborhood Spider-Man," Peter said, extending a hand. "Peter Parker, I'm with the Resistance. Well, kind of with them. It's complicated. I'm from another dimension, long story, and I'm here to help stop the First Order from doing bad things. You must be Ray." Ray didn't take his hand, her expression guarded. "How do you know my name?" "General Leia Organa sent us," Poe said, jogging up to join them. He showed Ray a Resistance credential chip. "We need your help. BB-8 has a map to Luke Skywalker. The galaxy needs that map. More importantly, it needs whatever hope finding Luke might bring." Ray's expression cycled through suspicion, confusion, and what might have been hope. Luke Skywalker is a myth, a legend parents tell children to make them feel safe. "He's real," Peter said, "and he's General Organa's brother. And according to everyone I've talked to, he used to be a hero before something went really wrong, and he decided being a hermit was better than fighting. But here's the thing about heroes. They don't stop being heroes just because they stop trying. The hero is still in there. Someone just needs to remind them." "And you think you can do that?" Ray asked skeptically. "Remind a Jedi Master to be heroic?" "I've done harder things," Peter said. "I once convinced Iron Man that he was worth saving, and he was convinced he was the worst person alive. So yeah, I think I can handle one grumpy Force user." Ray studied Peter carefully, and he had the distinct impression she was seeing more than his mask revealed. "You believe what you're saying, every word. You actually think hope matters. Hope always matters, Peter said simply. It's the difference between giving up and trying one more time. And trying one more time is how heroes win. Something in Ray's expression shifted. I've spent my whole life alone on this desert, waiting for my family to come back, surviving, hoping that one day someone would return for me. But maybe. She looked at BB-8, then at Peter and Poe. Maybe I'm supposed to go to them instead. Maybe that's what hope means. Not waiting to be saved, but choosing to save others. That's exactly what it means, Peter said. And trust me, once you start down that path, it's impossible to turn back. But it's also the best decision you'll ever make. Ray made her choice. I'll help you find Luke Skywalker. On one condition, when this is over, you help me find my family. Deal, Peter said without hesitation. Then his spider sense spiked hard. Except we need to leave right now because something really bad just arrived in orbit, and I'm pretty sure it's looking for us specifically. He was right. First Order Star destroyers were dropping out of hyperspace, deploying TIE fighters and troop transports with military precision. Someone had tracked them to Jakku. Run, Poe shouted. Back to the ship. They ran, Ray keeping pace with Peter's enhanced speed surprisingly well. BB-8 rolling between them faster than Peter would have thought possible for a droid his size. But halfway to the X-Wing, Peter's sense screamed a different warning. Down. Peter tackled Ray as a crimson lightsaber blade slashed through the space where her head had been. They rolled, came up in combat stances, and found themselves facing someone out of a nightmare. Kylo Ren stood before them, his crossguard lightsaber humming with barely contained power, his masked face revealing nothing. But Peter's spider sense was reading the force around him. Conflict, rage, pain, fear, all swirling together in a maelstrom of dark side energy. "The droid is coming with me," Kylo said, his modulated voice somehow both young and ancient. "And the scavenger, you..." He focused on Peter, and even through the mask, Peter felt the weight of that stare. "You're the anomaly, the one my master sensed, the one the Force cannot touch." "Yeah, I get that a lot," Peter said, positioning himself between Kylo and Ray. "Look, I know you're going through some stuff. Teen angst, identity issues. The whole grandson of Darth Vader thing has got to be complicated. But maybe instead of doing the evil Sith Lord routine, we could talk. I'm told I'm a pretty good listener." Kylo's hand tightened on his lightsaber. "You dare mock me?" "Not mocking, more like offering genuine emotional support," Peter said. "Because here's what I see. Someone really powerful who's really angry and really confused about who they're supposed to be. And I've been there, man. Not the Force powers part, but the confused teenager part. It's hard. But it gets better if you make better choices." "You know nothing of my choices," Kylo snarled, and the Force rippled with his rage. Cargo containers lifted into the air, sand swirled into miniature storms, and Peter felt the sheer power of an unleashed Force user focused on destruction. Peter's spider sense screamed. He grabbed Ray and Poe, webbed them to his body, and web slung away as the cargo containers crashed down where they'd been standing. They swung through the marketplace in a chaotic arc. Peter's reflexes the only thing keeping them ahead of Kylo's Force attacks. "This is terrifying," Poe shouted. "This is normal for me," Peter shouted back. "Just hold on and trust the webs." They landed near a crashed Star Destroyer, ancient wreckage from the Battle of Jakku decades ago. Peter's enhanced vision spotted an opening, a way inside the wreckage that might provide cover. "In there," Peter said, already moving. They scrambled through the gap just as Kylo's lightsaber carved through the hull behind them. Inside, the ancient corridors provided temporary protection from direct force attacks. "He's incredibly powerful," Rey said, breathing hard. I could feel it. The raw anger, the conflict. It's like he's fighting himself and everyone else simultaneously. "That's because he is," Peter said, his spider sense tracking Kylo's position outside. "Your turn to run. I'll hold him off." "You can't fight a Force user alone," Rey protested. "Watch me," Peter said, already analyzing tactical options. The crashed Star Destroyer provided vertical space, obstacles, the kind of three-dimensional combat environment where his abilities shined. "Get to pose X-Wing. Get that map piece to the Resistance. I'll catch up." "Peter," Poe started. "Go," Peter interrupted. "This is what Spider-Man does. I buy time for people to escape. It's literally in the job description. Plus, I really want to try fighting a laser sword with physics-defying reflexes. It's on my bucket list." Rey hesitated, then nodded once. "Don't die, Spider-Man. The galaxy needs more people like you." "I'll do my best," Peter said, then turned to face the opening as Kylo Ren tore through the hull like it was paper. The fight that followed would become legend among the First Order's ranks. The day Kylo Ren, Master of the Knights of Ren, faced an opponent his Force precognition couldn't predict. Kylo struck first, his crossguard lightsaber moving with brutal efficiency, but Peter's spider sense had already warned him. He dodged, the blade passing millimeters from his body, and countered with web shots aimed at Kylo's eyes. Kylo blocked with the Force, but the webs still made him flinch. Peter pressed the advantage, using the crashed Star Destroyer's interior like a jungle gym, wall running, ceiling crawling, swinging between obstacles while maintaining constant pressure. "You can't win," Kylo said, his lightsaber carving through Peter's webs. "I've trained my entire life for combat. You're just a child playing hero." "I'm a child who fought Thanos," Peter shot back, webbing a piece of debris and swinging it at Kylo's head. The Force user sliced it apart, but the distraction let Peter close distance and land a super-strength punch to Kylo's ribs that actually staggered him. Kylo recovered immediately, using the Force to slam Peter against a bulkhead. The impact would have killed a normal person. Peter's enhanced durability meant it just hurt a lot. "Ow," Peter groaned. "Okay, Force throwing. That's new. But you know what's not new? Trash talk." He webbed Kylo's feet and yanked hard, pulling the Force user off balance. "Did you practice the dramatic cape in front of a mirror? Because it's very dramatic. Very, I shop at evil overlords are us. Does it come in other colors? Or is black the only option?" "Silence," Kylo roared, and his rage manifested as a Force push that sent Peter flying. But Peter had been expecting it. His spider sense had screamed the warning. He turned the momentum into a controlled fall, webbed the ceiling, and slung back at Kylo feet first. The kick connected with Kylo's mask, cracking it. For a brief moment, Peter saw the face beneath. Young, scarred, twisted with conflict and pain. Not a monster. A kid not much older than Peter himself, drowning in choices he regretted, but didn't know how to escape. "Ben Solo," Peter said quietly, hanging upside down from a web line. "That's your real name, right? General Organa's son, Luke Skywalker's nephew. You weren't born evil, you chose it, which means you can choose different." Kylo froze. "How dare you speak that name? Ben Solo is dead. Weak. Sentimental. I destroyed him to become strong." "No, you didn't," Peter said. "If he was dead, you wouldn't be this conflicted. I can see it, even if I can't sense the Force. You're at war with yourself." Half of you wants to be this dark side enforcer, live up to your grandfather's legacy. But the other half knows this is wrong, knows you're hurting people who don't deserve it, knows your mom still loves you and wants you to come home. My mother abandoned me, Kylo said, but his voice cracked slightly. Sent me away to train with Luke, and Luke... The rage returned. Luke tried to kill me, tried to murder me in my sleep, because he sensed darkness in me. Everyone who should have loved me tried to destroy me. The only one who truly understood was Supreme Leader Snoke. Snoke's using you, Peter said. I've seen it before. Powerful people manipulating kids by making them feel special, chosen, important. But you're not chosen for anything except being his weapon. A tool he'll discard the second you stop being useful. Kylo's response was pure rage, a force storm that tore through the Star Destroyer's interior with destructive power that would have killed armies. Peter's spider sense screamed non-stop as he dodged, webbed, swung, and survived through reflexes that bordered on precognition themselves. You know nothing, Kylo screamed. Nothing about power, about sacrifice, about what it takes to be strong in a galaxy that crushes the weak. I know plenty, Peter said, landing in a crouch. His suit was torn, his body bruised, but he stood firm. I know that real strength isn't domination. Real strength is choosing kindness when cruelty is easier. It's protecting people weaker than you instead of exploiting them. It's admitting when you're wrong and trying to be better. That's what heroes do, Ben. And I think underneath all this darkness and anger, you still want to be a hero. For one heartbeat, Kylo Ren stood perfectly still. The force around him wavered, conflict visible even to someone without force sensitivity. Then his comlink crackled. Kylo Ren, what is your status? Snoke's voice, ancient and demanding. Have you captured the droid and the scavenger? The moment shattered. Kylo's conflict vanished beneath dark side discipline. They escaped, Supreme Leader, but I'm pursuing. See that you don't fail again, Snoke said, and kill the anomaly. He represents a threat to our plans. Yes, Supreme Leader, Kylo said. He looked at Peter one final time. You should have run when you had the chance. Now I have orders to kill you, and I always follow orders. Not always, Peter said. You hesitated. For just a second, you hesitated. That means Ben Solo is still in there, still fighting. And as long as he's fighting, there's hope. Kylo's response was to bring down half the Star Destroyer's ceiling. Peter webbed himself clear, burst through the hull, and webs swung across the desert toward where his enhanced hearing told him Poe's X-Wing was preparing for takeoff. Behind him, Kylo Ren stood in the wreckage, his fist clenched, his breath coming in ragged gasps. The encounter had shaken him in ways he refused to acknowledge. The anomaly, Spider-Man, had been right about things Kylo had spent years trying to bury. But Ben Solo was dead. Had to be dead. Because if he wasn't, if Peter Parker was right about choice, about redemption, then everything Kylo had done, everyone he'd hurt, would have been for nothing. No. Better to be the monster. Monsters didn't feel guilt. Peter reached the X-Wing just as it was lifting off. He web-slung aboard, landing in the droid's socket with familiar ease. Did you just fight Kylo Ren alone? Poe demanded, as they punched into hyperspace. TIE fighters in pursuit. Fought him to a draw, Peter corrected, and got him thinking, which might be the most important thing we accomplished today. You're insane, Rey said from where she'd squeezed into the cargo compartment with BB-8. But she was smiling. Completely, wonderfully insane. That was the bravest thing I've ever seen. just doing what Spider-Man does," Peter said. Then quieter, "He's not too far gone. Kylo Ren, I mean. Ben Solo. There's still good in him. I could see it." "My son," Leia would say when they reported in, and her voice would carry hope it hadn't held in years. "You saw good in my son." "Yeah," Peter confirmed. "And if there's good there, we can save him. We just need to find Luke Skywalker and convince him to help. Because I think Ben's conflict isn't just internal. I think he's been waiting for someone to believe in him. And once we show him we do, that we're not giving up on him, everything changes." The X-Wing flew through hyperspace toward the coordinates BB-8 had provided. Toward Achto, toward Luke Skywalker, toward the possibility that even the darkest souls could find redemption. Because that's what heroes believed, what Spider-Man believed, that everyone deserved a chance, everyone could change, everyone could choose to be better. Even the grandson of Darth Vader. Achto was the most beautiful place Peter had ever seen, and he'd web-slung through Manhattan at sunrise, fought in Wakanda's Golden City, and watched the Aurora Borealis from a SHIELD helicarrier. But this ancient Jedi temple world, with its endless ocean, towering cliffs, and structures that predated recorded history, took his breath away. "Wow," Peter said as they approached the island where BB-8's map indicated Luke Skywalker was hiding. "This is like if Ireland and Avatar's floating mountains had a baby, a really pretty, really remote baby." "Focus, Spider Kid," Poe said, bringing the X-Wing in for a careful landing on a stone platform that looked like it hadn't been used in centuries. "We're here to convince a Jedi Master to save the galaxy, not go sightseeing." "Why can't I do both?" Peter asked, already out of the cockpit and wall-crawling up the nearest cliff face with unconscious ease. "Multitasking is my superpower. Well, one of them, along with sticking to things and having a danger sense and being able to..." His spider sense spiked gently. Not danger, attention. Peter looked up and saw him. Luke Skywalker stood at the top of the ancient stone steps, dressed in simple robes, his face weathered and weary, his eyes carrying the weight of decades of regret. But beneath the exhaustion, Peter's enhanced perception caught something else. Surprise. Maybe even a flicker of hope, quickly suppressed. "Luke Skywalker," Peter called up, waving awkwardly while hanging from the cliff face. "Hi, I'm Spider-Man. That's a stupid introduction. I mean, I'm Peter Parker, but I go by Spider-Man, which is also probably a weird thing to say. What I mean is, we need your help. The galaxy needs your help. Your sister sent us." Luke's expression didn't change. "Go away. I came here to die. The galaxy doesn't need the Jedi anymore. We caused more problems than we solved." "That's the dumbest thing I've ever heard," Peter said, before his filter could stop him. Then, at Rey's warning look from below, "Sorry, that came out wrong. What I meant to say is, that's completely wrong and kind of self-indulgent." That got Luke's attention. "Excuse me?" "Look, I don't know you," Peter said, web swinging up to Luke's level and landing in a crouch. "But I know the story. You were a hero. Helped defeat the Empire, redeemed Darth Vader, brought balance to the Force or whatever. Then something went wrong with your Jedi students. Your nephew turned evil, and you decided the best response was to hide on a pretty island and feel sorry for yourself." Luke's expression darkened. "You don't understand." "You're right, I don't," Peter interrupted. "I don't understand how someone who was willing to die to save his father, who everyone said was irredeemable, could give up on his nephew at the first sign of darkness. I don't understand how a hero could let the galaxy burn because he's afraid of making another mistake. But here's what I do understand. Master Skywalker. Heroes don't quit. They can't, because if they quit, the bad guys win, and you quit. The silence stretched. Ray, Poe, and BB-8 had climbed the stairs and stood watching the confrontation with varying degrees of concern. Luke stared at Peter with an intensity that suggested he was seeing through the mask to the teenager beneath. "You're just a child," Luke finally said. "You can't possibly understand the weight of failure, the cost of hubris." "I'm 16, Peter said, "and I've understood failure since I was 15, and my Uncle Ben died because I didn't stop a criminal when I had the chance. I was selfish. I thought only about myself, and he died because of my choice. So yeah, Master Skywalker, I understand failure. I understand guilt. But I also understand that letting guilt paralyze you just means more people die. More Uncle Bens, more Aunt Mays, more families destroyed because someone who could help decided their feelings mattered more than other people's lives." Luke's hand twitched toward where a lightsaber would have hung if he still carried one. "You dare lecture me about—" "Yeah, I do," Peter said, stepping closer despite every instinct telling him this was a bad idea. "Because someone needs to. Your sister needs you. The Resistance needs you. The galaxy needs you. And most importantly, your nephew needs you. Ben Solo is drowning in darkness and conflict, and instead of throwing him a lifeline, you abandoned him to Snoke's manipulation. You, the guy who saved Darth Vader through the power of love and belief, gave up on a confused kid because you sensed darkness in him." "I didn't—" Luke started, but his voice cracked. "It was more complicated than that. It always is," Peter said, his voice gentler now. "I know, nothing's ever simple. But here's the thing, Ben's not too far gone. I fought him on Jakku. I saw underneath the mask. He's conflicted, struggling, fighting himself constantly. Part of him wants to be this dark side, enforcer, but part of him hates what he's become. And you know what he needs? He needs someone to believe in him, to show him that redemption is possible. Who better to do that than the guy who redeemed Darth Vader?" Luke turned away, staring out at the endless ocean. "I failed Ben. I sensed darkness growing in him, and in a moment of weakness, I ignited my lightsaber, just for an instant. But he saw his uncle, his teacher, ready to kill him for something he hadn't even done yet. I created the very thing I feared." "Yeah, you did," Peter said bluntly. Ray gasped, but Peter continued. "You made a terrible mistake, probably the worst mistake of your life. But you know what? Mistakes don't define you. What you do next defines you. Mr. Stark, Iron Man, made weapons that killed thousands. He spent decades being selfish and self-destructive. Then he chose to be better. He became a hero. He saved the universe. And when I met him, you know what he told me? He said that being a hero isn't about being perfect. It's about trying to do better tomorrow than you did today." Luke was silent for a long moment. When he spoke, his voice was barely audible over the wind. "What if I try and fail again? What if my intervention makes things worse?" "Then you fail," Peter said simply. "But at least you tried. At least you didn't let fear keep you from doing what's right. Because here's the thing about heroes, Master Skywalker. We don't get guarantees. We don't know if we'll succeed. We just know that people need help, and we've got the power to help them. So we try. That's what makes us heroes. Not success, not power, just the choice to keep trying, even when we're afraid." Ray stepped forward, her voice strong despite the tears on her cheeks. "I've lived my whole life on Jakku, waiting for my family to return, surviving, hoping. I thought hope was about waiting for someone to save me. But Spider-Man, Peter, showed me that hope is about choosing to act. about deciding that you won't let fear win. The Force has been calling to me my entire life, Master Skywalker. I don't understand it. I'm terrified of it, but I know it's real. And I know the galaxy needs the Jedi, needs you. The Jedi failed. Then be better, Jedi, Peter interrupted. Learn from the mistakes. Adapt. Evolve. That's what heroes do. They learn and improve. Captain America was frozen for 70 years. When he woke up, the world had changed completely. Everything he knew was gone. But he adapted. He learned. He kept fighting because people needed him. You can do the same. Luke turned back to face them, and for the first time Peter saw something other than resignation in those eyes. Something that looked like the hero everyone said Luke Skywalker had been. The First Order is building a weapon, Poe said, sensing the moment, called Starkiller Base. It can destroy multiple star systems simultaneously. They're going to fire it in less than 2 weeks. If we don't stop them, billions will die. We need every advantage, every hero, every Jedi we can find. And Ben? Luke asked quietly. What about my nephew? We save him, Peter said firmly. We show him that redemption is possible, that his family hasn't given up on him, that he can choose different. But we can't do that without you. You're the one person who can prove that even the darkest can return to the light. Because you did it with Vader. Now you need to do it with Ben. Luke closed his eyes, and Peter could feel the internal struggle. Decades of guilt and self-imposed exile warring against the hero he'd once been. Against the knowledge that people needed him. Against hope. When Luke opened his eyes, they were clear, determined. The eyes of a Jedi Master who'd remembered his purpose. I'll need my lightsaber, Luke said. Rey, hold out your hand. Rey did, and Luke placed a hand over hers. The Force flowed, and from a hidden compartment in the ancient stone, a cylindrical object flew into Rey's palm. Luke's lightsaber, the same weapon that had belonged to Anakin Skywalker, that had been used to defend the innocent and fight tyranny. This weapon belongs to a Jedi, Luke said, but I'm not sure I deserve that title anymore. Then earn it back, Peter said, by being the hero the galaxy needs, by saving your nephew, by proving that the Jedi aren't done yet. Luke took the lightsaber from Rey, hefted it, and for the first time in years, ignited the blade. Blue plasma hummed to life, and with it, Peter felt something shift in the Force, though he couldn't sense the Force directly. He could see its effect on everyone around him. Hope, pure and brilliant. We'll need a plan, Luke said, his voice taking on the command authority of someone who'd led rebel assaults and trained Jedi. Starkiller Base will be heavily defended. We'll need detailed intelligence, a strike team, and a way to reach Ben before Snoke can use him as a weapon against us. I can provide intelligence, Peter said, pulling up holographic data from his suit's damaged memory banks. I recorded everything during our reconnaissance. Starkiller Base is built into a planet in the Elenium system. It draws power from stars, channels it into a weapon array that can target multiple systems. But every weapon has a weak point. We just need to find it. The thermal oscillator, Rey said suddenly, studying the data with intense focus. There, that structure. It regulates the energy drawn from the star. If it's damaged while the weapon is charging, the feedback would cause a cascading failure that destroys the entire base. Luke finished. Good eye. But how do we get close enough to damage it? We do what the rebellion did at the Death Star, Poe said with a reckless grin. We fly in, cause chaos, and trust the Force and spider sense to get us through. That's the worst plan I've ever heard, Rey said. When do we start? Now, Peter said, because the galaxy doesn't have time for us to plan the perfect mission. We've got. He checked his internal chronometer. 11 days before Starkiller fires. We need to move. They returned to Dakar as heroes bringing hope. Luke Skywalker's arrival electrified the Resistance base. Veterans who'd fought in the Galactic Civil War nearly wept, seeing the legendary Jedi Master emerge from the X-Wing. Leia stood at the hangar entrance, and the reunion between twins, separated by years and grief, was profound enough that even Peter felt his eyes sting. "You came back," Leia said, embracing her brother. "I had help," Luke said, glancing at Peter. "A very persistent spider told me I was being an idiot." "He does that," Leia said with a slight smile. Then more seriously, "Ben, can we save him?" "We can try," Luke said. "That's all we can promise, but trying is better than giving up." The war council that followed was intense. Luke, Leia, Admiral Akbar, Poe, Rey, and Peter gathered around holographic projections of Starkiller Base, analyzing defenses, calculating odds, planning an assault that would make the Battle of Endor look like a training exercise. "The base is operational, but not yet fully armed," Admiral Akbar reported. "According to Spider-Man's intelligence and subsequent reconnaissance, they need 7 more days to complete the Stellar Energy Collection Array. That's our window. 7 days to plan, coordinate, and execute an assault on the most heavily defended installation in First Order space," Poe said. "I've done crazier things. Not many, but some. We'll need multiple strike teams," Luke said, studying the data with tactical precision. "One to disable the shields, one to assault the thermal oscillator, one to extract or neutralize command personnel, and someone needs to reach Ben." "I'll go after Ben," Luke said. "It's my responsibility, my failure to fix." "You're not going alone," Peter said immediately. "No offense, Master Skywalker, but you're kind of emotionally compromised when it comes to your nephew. You need someone who can be objective, someone Ben can't manipulate through family guilt." "He's right," Leia said. "Luke, you're too close to this. You need support." "I'll go with him," Rey said. "The Force is calling me to this. I don't understand it, but I know I'm supposed to be there." "Then I'm going too," Peter said, "because someone needs to keep reminding everyone that redemption is possible. Plus, I'm really good at annoying dark side Force users until they listen to reason. It's basically my superpower." "That leaves the assault on the thermal oscillator," Poe said. "I'll lead the fighter squadrons. We create chaos, while the ground team plants charges." "I'll lead the ground team," Leia said. "This weapon destroyed my homeworld decades ago. Destroying its successor feels appropriate." The plan solidified over the next 6 days. The Resistance gathered every ship, every soldier, every ally they could muster. It wasn't enough. They were still outnumbered and outgunned dramatically. But it was all they had. During the preparation, Peter spent time with Rey, teaching her about heroism beyond the Force. "The Force is powerful," he told her while they trained in hand-to-hand combat. "But you know what's more powerful? The choice to be good, to protect people weaker than yourself, to stand up when it's easier to stand down. That's what makes heroes heroes, not power, choice." Rey absorbed everything like a sponge, her natural abilities enhanced by Peter's unconventional training. She learned to fight like Spider-Man, using agility, environment, and intelligence to overcome stronger opponents. She was a natural. "You're going to be incredible," Peter told her after a particularly impressive sparring session. "Jedi, hero, beacon of hope, everything this galaxy needs. You talk like you won't be here," Rey said, her expression troubled. "I hope I will be," Peter said honestly. "But I've died once before saving the universe. If I have to do it again to save this galaxy, that's okay," Because that's what heroes do. We sacrifice so others don't have to. That's a terrible philosophy, Ray said. Yeah, Peter agreed, but it's the right one. The day of the assault arrived with grim determination. The Resistance fleet, pitifully small compared to the First Order's might, gathered in hyperspace, preparing for what might be their last battle. Peter stood in the hangar, checking his web shooters one final time, when Luke approached. "Thank you," Luke said simply, "for reminding me what it means to be a Jedi, what it means to be a hero. Thank me when we've saved Ben and blown up the giant death planet," Peter said. "Then we can have a nice moment. Maybe some tea. I've heard Jedi are big on tea." "We're really not," Luke said, but he was smiling. The fleet dropped out of hyperspace directly on top of Starkiller Base, a tactical gambit that sacrificed surprise for proximity. First Order defenses responded immediately, but the Resistance had learned from decades of asymmetric warfare. They didn't fight fair. They fought smart. Peter, Luke, Ray, and a small team infiltrated during the chaos, using a stolen First Order shuttle to bypass initial defenses. Peter's spider sense guided them through patrols and security checkpoints that would have detected them otherwise. "Your danger sense is unnervingly accurate," Luke observed, as Peter led them through a maintenance corridor that technically shouldn't have been accessible. "Yeah, it's pretty useful," Peter said, "though it's been going crazy since we landed. This whole place feels wrong, like the architecture itself is threatening." They reached the command center just as the weapon began its firing sequence. Through massive viewports, they could see the star being drained, its energy channeled into the weapon array. The target, the Hosnian system, billions of lives. "We're out of time," Ray said. Then Kylo Ren entered, flanked by Knights of Ren and a full company of stormtroopers. But his attention wasn't on the tactical situation. It was on Luke. "Uncle," Kylo said, his modulated voice cold, "how fitting that you crawl from your exile to watch your failure completed. The Jedi end today. The Resistance ends today. The false hope you represent ends today." "Ben," Luke said, and his voice carried more emotion than Peter had heard from him. "Please, you don't have to do this. You can still come home. Your mother..." "My mother chose the Resistance over her son," Kylo said. "My father chose smuggling over his family. And you..." The rage was palpable. "You chose to murder me rather than teach me. None of you wanted me. Only Supreme Leader Snoke saw my potential. Only he gave me purpose. He gave you slavery dressed as destiny," Peter said, stepping forward. "I've seen it before, Ben. Powerful people who manipulate kids by making them feel special. But you're not special to Snoke. You're a tool. And when you're no longer useful, he'll discard you." "Lies," Kylo said, but his hand trembled slightly on his lightsaber hilt. "Prove it's a lie," Peter challenged. "Ask yourself, has Snoke ever let you make your own choices? Or does he just tell you what to do and punish you when you question? Has he ever shown you actual affection? Or just approval when you do what he wants? That's not a mentor, Ben. That's an abuser." Kylo's conflict was visible now, even through the mask. The Knights of Ren shifted uncomfortably, sensing their leader's instability. Then Supreme Leader Snoke appeared, not physically, but as a massive hologram that dominated the command center. Ancient, scarred, his presence in the Force like a wound in reality itself. "Kylo Ren," Snoke said, his voice cold and commanding. "Kill them, all of them. Prove your loyalty. Prove you are worthy of the power I have given you." "See?" Peter said quietly. "He's not asking. He's commanding. That's not respect, Ben. That's control." "I am not..." Kylo started, but his voice cracked. "I am not weak." Obeying someone who treats you like property is the definition of weakness, Peter said. Real strength is choosing your own path, making your own decisions, even when they're hard, even when they cost you. That's what heroes do. That's what your grandfather did. He chose love over hate, redemption over power. He chose to save Luke when the Emperor commanded him to kill Luke. Can you do the same? The moment stretched. The weapon continued charging. Outside, the battle raged. Inside, Ben Solo stood at a crossroads, exactly as Peter had predicted. "Kill them," Snoke commanded. "I order you." "No," Ben said quietly. Then, louder, "No, I won't. Not anymore." He turned to face Snoke's hologram and, in one fluid motion, ignited his lightsaber and drove it through the holographic projector. The image of Snoke fractured, his screams of rage cut off as the connection severed. "Ben," Luke breathed. "I'm not Ben." Kylo, "No, Ben," said, removing his helmet. His face was young, scarred, streaked with tears. "I don't know who I am anymore. I've done terrible things, killed so many people. I don't know if I can be forgiven." "Forgiveness is for later," Peter said practically. "Right now, we need to stop this weapon from firing. Think you can help with that?" Ben stared at Peter, then at Luke, then at Rey, who looked at him with something between fear and compassion. "I know the base's systems, the override codes. I can..." He swallowed hard. "I can help." "Then let's get to work," Luke said, stepping forward and placing a hand on his nephew's shoulder. Together. What followed was the most frantic 20 minutes of Peter's life, and he'd fought in the Battle of Earth against Thanos. Ben worked the First Order systems with desperate speed, overriding safeties while Peter and Rey fought through waves of stormtroopers responding to the command center breach. Luke protected them all, his lightsaber work poetry in motion. "Got it," Ben shouted. "Weapon systems locked. It can't fire." "Great," Peter said, webbing another stormtrooper. "Now how do we get off this planet before Leia's team blows the thermal oscillator?" "We run," Luke said. Very fast, they ran. The evacuation was chaotic. Stolen First Order transport, Resistance evacuation protocols, and Peter web-swinging between starships to save pilots who'd been hit. His spider sense screamed constantly as he moved through space combat that would have killed anyone less enhanced, less determined. He was helping Rey board a transport when his sense spiked differently. He turned and saw Snoke, the real Snoke, not a hologram, emerging from a command ship, his ancient face twisted with rage, his dark side power gathering like a storm. "You," Snoke said, focusing on Peter with malevolent intensity. "The anomaly. You've ruined everything. Years of planning, destroyed by one child from another dimension. But you're still mortal, still killable." Force lightning erupted from Snoke's hands, not the kind Kylo or even Palpatine had wielded, but something older, more terrible, power drawn from the dark side's deepest wells. Peter's spider sense screamed. He dodged, but the lightning followed him, seeking, relentless. His web fluid ignited from the heat. His suit smoked. He couldn't dodge forever. Then Ben was there, his lightsaber intercepting the lightning, his face set with determination. "You used me," Ben said, "lied to me, made me into a weapon, but I'm not your weapon anymore. I'm Ben Solo, son of Han and Leia, nephew of Luke, and I choose the light." The duel that followed was brief but brutal. Snoke was ancient, powerful, skilled in dark side techniques that predated the Sith. But Ben was younger, faster, and fighting not for power but for redemption, for the chance to be more than what Snoke had made him. When Ben's lightsaber finally pierced Snoke's chest, The ancient dark side user's scream echoed across the Force itself. His body didn't dissolve or fade. It simply crumpled. Ancient evil finally ended. Is he? Peter started. Dead, Luke confirmed, arriving with Rey. Truly completely dead. The dark side presence I've sensed for years is gone. Below them, Starkiller Base was tearing itself apart. The thermal oscillator's destruction creating cascading failures across the planet weapon. They had minutes, maybe seconds. Everyone evacuate. Leia's voice crackled over comms. Base destruction imminent. They made it to the last transport as the planet began imploding. The Resistance fleet jumped to hyperspace just as Starkiller Base collapsed into a miniature black hole, taking the First Order's ultimate weapon and most of their military leadership with it. The victory celebration on Dakar was bittersweet. They'd won, but at terrible cost. Good pilots lost, ships destroyed, lives spent purchasing survival, but they'd won. The First Order was shattered, Snoke was dead, Starkiller Base was destroyed, and Ben Solo had chosen redemption. Peter stood on a balcony overlooking the celebration, his mask off for once, just enjoying being alive. Rey joined him, then Poe, then Ben, nervous, guilty, but present. So, Poe said, we saved the galaxy. That's pretty cool. We did, Peter agreed. Team effort, very Avengers style. What happens now? Rey asked. The First Order is broken, but not destroyed. There will be remnants, holdouts, people who won't accept that we won. Then we keep fighting, Peter said simply. That's what heroes do. We keep fighting until everyone's safe, until there's no more First Order, no more Empire, no more fascism threatening freedom. We fight until the galaxy remembers what peace feels like. That could take years, Ben said quietly. Then we fight for years, Peter said. Together, Jedi, Resistance, reformed Sith who finally chose the right side. We fight because that's what heroes do. Heroes, Ben repeated. I don't know if I'll ever be. You already are. Peter interrupted. You chose different when it mattered most. That's what makes heroes heroes, not perfection. Just the choice to be better. Luke approached, Leia with him. Mother and uncle stood before the nephew who'd caused so much pain, but had chosen redemption when it counted most. Ben, Leia said, and there were tears streaming down her face. My son, welcome home. The embrace was tentative at first, then fierce. Years of pain and separation couldn't be healed instantly, but healing could begin. That was enough. Peter, Luke said, you've given this galaxy something we thought we'd lost. Hope. Real, genuine hope that tomorrow can be better than today. Thank you. Just doing what Spider-Man does, Peter said. Though, speaking of which, I should probably try to find a way home eventually. My Aunt May is probably freaking out, and MJ, and Ned, and basically everyone. We'll help you, Rey promised. Whatever it takes to get you home. But Peter, I hope you know that you'll always have a place here, in this galaxy, with us, with your family, Leia added, because that's what you've become. Family. Peter felt his eyes sting. He'd lost Uncle Ben, lost Mr. Stark, been separated from everyone he loved by dimensional barriers. But here, in this strange galaxy, he'd found new family, new purpose, new proof that no matter what universe you're in, heroism matters. Thanks, Peter said, his voice rough. That means a lot. But right now, I think we should focus on the whole. There's still remnant First Order forces to deal with thing. Can't let them regroup and cause more problems. Always the hero, Poe said with a grin. Never stops, never quits. Someone has to, Peter said. Might as well be the guy in the spider suit. Over the following months, Peter helped the Resistance hunt down First Order remnants. trained Rey in both heroism and combat, and worked with Ben as he began the long process of making amends for his actions. It wasn't easy. Forgiveness was complicated, and many who'd suffered under Kylo Ren weren't ready to accept his redemption. But slowly, gradually, the galaxy began to heal. And when Peter finally did find a way home, a dimensional rift created by combining First Order technology, Jedi techniques, and his own genius, he left behind a galaxy forever changed. A galaxy that knew hope wasn't just something you waited for. It was something you created through choice, courage, and the determination to be better. A galaxy that had learned from a teenage hero that with great power came great responsibility. And that responsibility meant never giving up, never surrendering to darkness, never accepting that evil was inevitable. Because if Spider-Man had taught them anything, it was that one person could make a difference, even in a galaxy far, far away. As Peter stepped through the portal, returning to his own universe, he looked back one last time. Rey, Luke, Leia, Poe, and Ben stood watching, the family he was leaving behind. "May the Force be with you, Peter Parker," Luke said, "and may you remember to do whatever a spider can." Peter replied with a grin. Then he was gone, the portal closing behind him, but his legacy remained. Inspired by Spider-Man's example, Rey would rebuild the Jedi Order, but different this time. More balanced, more focused on choice than restriction. Ben Solo would spend his life making amends, saving those the First Order had threatened, proving that redemption was always possible. And across the galaxy, on 1,000 worlds, people would tell stories of the hero from another universe who wore red and blue, who stuck to walls and swung on webs, who reminded them that hope was a choice, and that heroes never quit. Not ever. Years later, historians would debate Peter Parker's impact on galactic history. Some called him the catalyst that prevented a second galactic civil war. Others said he was merely a fortunate anomaly in the right place at the right time. But those who'd known him, who'd fought beside him, learned from him, been saved by him, knew the truth. Spider-Man had given the galaxy something more valuable than military victory. He'd given them proof that one person's choices mattered, that heroism wasn't about power or destiny or force sensitivity. It was about character, about choosing to do the right thing even when it was hard, scary, or cost everything. Rey became the greatest Jedi of her generation, but she never forgot the lesson Peter taught her, that the Force was powerful, but compassion, courage, and determination were stronger. She rebuilt the Jedi Order with those principles at its core. Not monks who suppressed emotion, but heroes who channeled it into protection and service. Ben Solo spent decades earning redemption, one person at a time, one choice at a time. He never forgave himself for the lives he'd taken, but he honored them by saving countless others. And when young Force sensitives struggled with darkness, Ben would tell them about a hero from another universe who believed everyone deserved a second chance. The First Order remnants were hunted down and scattered. Without Snoke's dark side coordination and Starkiller Base's threat, they fragmented into isolated cells that the New Republic easily contained. The military-industrial complex that had profited from endless war found itself facing a galaxy that remembered the price of complacency. And on countless worlds, in whispered stories and holographic records, people spoke of Spider-Man, the hero who swung between starships, who fought Kylo Ren to a standstill with nothing but webs and determination, who reminded Luke Skywalker what it meant to be a Jedi, who proved that you didn't need the Force to make a difference, just a sense of responsibility and the courage to act on it. When Peter finally returned to his own universe, arriving in his queen's apartment exactly 3 seconds after he'd been pulled away, thanks to multiversal time distortion, he found MJ waiting with raised eyebrows and crossed arms. 3 seconds? She said. You were gone 3 seconds and you look like you fought a war. Funny story about that, Peter said, his spider suit torn and scorched, souvenirs from a galaxy far away hidden in his backpack. So hypothetically, if I told you I spent 6 months in another dimension helping space rebels fight fascist remnants and befriending reformed Sith lords, would you believe me? No, MJ said, then softer. But tell me anyway. And Peter did. He told her about Rey and Luke, about Poe's reckless courage and Leia's unbreakable will, about fighting Kylo Ren in crashed Star Destroyers and swinging through space battles, about a galaxy that had forgotten hope until a teenager from Queens reminded them what heroes looked like. You know what the craziest part is? Peter said, pulling out a small device, a gift from the Resistance, a communicator that could send messages across dimensional barriers if he ever figured out how to power it. I think I actually made a difference there. Like a real difference. Changed the timeline, saved billions, proved that heroes matter. You always make a difference, Peter, MJ said, taking his hand. That's your superpower, not the spider strength or the webs or the wall crawling. You make people believe that tomorrow can be better, that trying matters, that one person caring enough to act can change everything. With great power comes great responsibility, Peter quoted softly. And you've got both in abundance, MJ said. So what happens now? Do you try to go back? Help them more? Peter considered. Somewhere across dimensional barriers, a galaxy was healing, learning to be better, building something beautiful from the ashes of war. They didn't need him anymore. They'd learned the lesson. Now, Peter said, now I'm Spider-Man in New York. There's a bank robbery on 5th Avenue. My spider sense is tingling, and someone needs help. Same job, different galaxy. He suited up, checked his web shooters, and prepared to swing back into action. But before he left, he looked at the communicator one more time. Across dimensional barriers, he felt a connection to the family he'd left behind. A reminder that heroism was universal, and that no matter what universe you're in, someone always needs a friendly neighborhood Spider-Man. Hey, Peter said to MJ before web swinging out the window, if anyone ever invents reliable interdimensional travel, remind me to introduce you to Rey. You two would get along great. Same energy. The reformed Jedi? MJ asked. The hero who learned that power matters less than choice, Peter corrected. Just like you. Then he was gone, swinging through Manhattan's canyons of steel and glass, his spider sense guiding him toward people who needed help. A teenager with too much power and just enough responsibility, proving every day that heroes weren't born. They were made through choice after choice after choice. And in a galaxy far, far away, on 1,000 worlds, people who'd never heard of Queens or New York or Earth told stories of Spider-Man, the hero from beyond the stars. The one who proved that you didn't need the Force to save the galaxy. Just courage, compassion, and the determination to never, ever give up. Because that's what heroes do, in every universe. May the Force be with you. More stories await.